Are you looking for answers to the unknown? Welcome to Live with Medium Lisa Phoenix and step into the magical presence of the metaphysical realm. Lisa will share the wisdom and musings from her own experiences, have intriguing conversations with other mediums and healers, in addition to exploring a wide array of topics and teachings on intuitive and mediumship development. Lisa will be taking your calls and inviting your friends and loved ones in the spirit world to share their stories with us. Raise your awareness as you are reunited on the level of love, and let's go live with Medium Lisa Phoenix.
Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. It's a wonderful day in Southern California. Welcome to the Live with Lisa Phoenix radio show. I'm Lisa Phoenix, your host, a medium and energy intuitive. My show is all about healing, mediumship, and energy management. And my special guest this morning is Jeffrey Marks, evidential spiritual medium and author. If you want further information about the Live with Lisa Phoenix radio show, please visit my website at lisaphoenix.net. That's lisaphoenix.net. And I would love it if you would go to my website once again and sign up for my Intuitive Insights newsletter, which will also add you to my mailing list. And please like me on Facebook. Now, let's talk a bit about Jeffrey. Jeffrey Marks is a professional psychic and evidential spiritual medium, paranormal researcher, student of psychic research, and award-winning author. Yeah, you know, every once in a while. His 25 years of metaphysical studies, combined with more than a decade of trying to decode, decrypt, and understand the nature of psychic phenomenon, has led to a mind filled with compassion, perception, and an ability to foster the fire of multidimensional empowerment within you. Jeffrey honors the natural heritage that is within the mystical soul and uses this awareness as he works with those in spirit to bring messages of love, peace, and healing and inspiration. Our loved ones on the other side wish us to know they have not just survived, but are also thriving, and that they still love us and watch over us. Jeffrey has been praised for his authentic and humble manner when dealing with the spirits and clients too, and his down-to-earth and left-brained approach provide a comfortable and accessible perspective to his clients and audience. And Jeffrey, you also have 3 books out right now, right? And you're working on a 4th. Good morning.
Good morning. Wow, that's all me. Jeez.
Yeah. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you on.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, you know, that's your bio, okay? But can you tell us a little bit just about you and what it is you do?
Sure. My twist of fate with spirit began actually when I was 3 years old, when my family lived in a very active, negative, haunted house. And so we were only there for 8 months, but the experiences that we had really colored and shaped our history. So that's kind of how I got started. Terrified the bejesus out of me. But, you know, eventually, as I got older, my fear turned into curiosity, and that's really what led me on the journey. But what I did not know I was doing when I was a kid is we moved on average about every 3 to 4 years because of my dad finding new work elsewhere. And whenever we would go into a new house, I was not knowing consciously what I was doing. I was opening up my mediumship abilities to see, oh my gosh, is there some spirit here that's going to try to come after me?
Right. It's kind of like, you know, clairsentience. You walk into a room and you kind of feel out who's in the room.
Like I said, eventually my curiosity went out over my fear, and that's when I really started going out and learning about the nature of spirituality, communication, and psychic abilities. And then, of course, being a man, I got very, very analytical and left brain, and so I started looking into, you know, physics and quantum mechanics and the actual research that has been done in this arena with spiritualism, starting way back in the late 1800s with the Society for Psychical Research, and then you got the Rhine Research Institute and the remote viewing studies and stuff that was being done back in the 70s. So I've looked at a lot of it, and what it really does for me is it continues to demonstrate that we are far more than just a body and a brain, that we are really a mind. And what we are learning through the research now, because I'm also a former president of the Washington State Ghost Society, I'm still a member.
Mm-hmm.
We are working, honestly, if I were to put it in a nutshell, we are collaborating with those on the spirit side of life to learn more about not just the nature of what it is to be a spirit outside of time and space, but what it also means to be a spirit inside a physical body within time and space, and the nature of multidimensionality that surrounds all of it.
Wow, I find that so fascinating. And before we move further, I do want to suggest to everybody to go to Jeffrey's website at www.spiritualexploration.com. That's spiritualexploration.com. And you also have a wonderful blog, The Inner Voice, too, which is at Jeffrey Marks, JEFFREY.blogspot.com.
And both of those are going to be updated. I'm revamping both of those, and hopefully within the next 2 to 3 months. I know it sounds like a long ways off, but it's
all good.
Done. They're going to be completely revamped.
Now, you do have 3 books out, and for people who don't know who you are so much, tell us just a little bit about each book and then how it led you up to then, move into this 4th book you're in the process of writing.
Okay. Yeah, the first book is called Your Magical Soul, and all these books are available on Amazon.com. And that first book is really, it's not so much about mediumship per se, but it is about the nature of consciousness and psychic phenomena as it's been studied by those in the parapsychological community, and how it really points to the reality that we are outside time and space and actually we are the ones in control, that we actually orchestrate our reality. And this book really gets into some of the science behind that brought us to this conclusion. So that's the first book. The second and third book, those are a 2-volume set called the Afterlife Interviews Volumes 1 and 2. And that began as more or less an experiment. Mm-hmm. Prior to writing those books, I had already been with the Washington State Ghost Society for several years. And one of the things that I do on investigations is I have a list, or at least I had a list. It's kind of evolved since then, but I had a list of 20 some odd questions that I would ask at every location that we went on. And these questions pertain to what is life like as a spirit, in the hopes that I would get a response to these questions in the form of an EVP, which is when the spirit is speaking into your voice recorder and you can audibly hear the voice when you play the recording back.
Gotcha.
And I was getting responses to these questions. And one day I was listening to a radio interview where the radio host was interviewing a scientist who was doing research on mediums. And he asked the researcher, well, why don't those in spirit ever tell us what life is like over there? And I'm kind of like, well, they do. I mean, they do to me, and at least in the ghost research category, they do. And so what I came to this idea, well, shoot, why don't I just do a series of mediumship readings, mm-hmm. Make a link to, actually bring a person in, I went and got 14 volunteers. And so I did 14 separate readings. And once we had ascertained that a good link was established with my clients' loved ones on the other side, I had them ask a list of 52 questions about what is life like on the other side. Questions ranging from what was the dying process like for you? Is there a life review? How do you maintain your identity? What is it like living outside of time? What is the environment of the other side like? What do you really think about organized religion and God? So these are the kind of questions I was having my clients ask their loved ones.
And did you use the same set of people for both books?
Well, it really essentially what happened was it was 52 questions. I used this with 14 different readings. There was so much data that I had to break it up into 2.
Oh, gotcha.
So
okay.
Volume 1 dealt with the first question, like questions 1 through 22, 23, and then Volume 2 dealt with the remainders up to 52.
Perfect.
And so that's the Afterlife Interviews, my second and third books. Now, the fourth book that I'm just now getting started on, and working in collaboration with the current president of the Washington State Ghost Society, is somewhat an extension of the Afterlife interviews, in the sense that we have learned so much over the last decade, and certainly within the last 5 years, it's really ramped up. When we go into haunted locations, we do not go in as ghost hunters. We are going in as spirit researchers. So basically what that means is when we go into a location, and first of all, we'll do the stuff that the other ghost groups do, in the sense of discovering how much of this it can be caused by natural means, not spirit related, that sort of thing. But once we do encounter a spirit, we will first of all, we'll connect with that spirit. We'll use mediums to do this. At the same time, though, we have all the recorders going as well.
Right.
And we will get the spirit's story. You know, we want to find out what historical elements it can give us about, you know, why they're there, what can they tell us about their past. But then we'll also go into the deeper questions about what can this spirit tell us about the nature of reality, not just from their perspective of being a spirit, but also from their hindsight being 20/20. What can they tell us about our lives here in the physical world based on any new knowledge that they've ascertained being in the spirit realm? And so this next book covers really what we are learning because it's a cooperative effort. You know, what are they teaching us about our lives here and there, and we're really working together on this. So they're teaching us, we're learning together really about the nature of multidimensionality as it applies to consciousness, whether or not we are inside or outside of a body.
Yeah, and I actually think that, I mean, what I can say, Spirit would like that better, us working together, as maybe better than in some of the other ghost hunting senses.
Yeah.
But Jeffrey, hold your thoughts. We've got to take a commercial break here, and we will be right back to kind of dive more into this subject, okay? Stay tuned with us. This is Live with Lisa Phoenix and my special guest, Jeffrey Marks, medium and author. We'll be right back.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Eros Evolution is where sexuality and spirituality meets. Join me, clinical sexologist Martha Tara Lee, on Eros Evolution on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. What if business could be fun? What if business is the adventure of living? What are you choosing? Where do you do business that makes it easier, more fun, or more joyful for you? We'd love to see where you do business. Connect with us on Instagram at Joy of Business or Twitter at Joy of Business, and share your pictures with hashtags Business Done Where and Joy of Business. Let's change the world with business.
What if living didn't have to be so serious?
What if you could move beyond your problems with greater confidence and ease than you've ever imagined?
Throw your labels out the window and join the Irreverent Therapist for practical tips and a very different way of approaching the changes you would like to create.
Marilyn Bradford
and Pam Hodling
have empowered hundreds of people to come out of self-judgment, quit looking to experts, and begin to create the lives they desire.
Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Irreverent Therapist Show.
The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back, everybody. You're live with Lisa Phoenix and my special guest, Jeffrey Marks. Hi, Jeff. So I'd love to kind of dive a little bit more into this subject. We were talking a little bit before the show as far as, the whole connection. And you were talking about the time frames and the past time and present time and whether. Yes. So can we chat about that a little bit?
Sure. Absolutely. It's one of my favorite subjects, the whole multidimensional thing.
So, where to start? I just, you were talking about hauntings and that there's a possibility that we don't even know if things are really being haunted.
Correct. Yes. The more we dive into the nature of multidimensionality and especially time, it's getting more and more difficult to ascertain whether phenomena at a location is really being caused by a person who is in spirit, who's died, or if it's what we're terming an eclipsing time frame. Because one of the things that spirits are very adamant about trying to get across is that there is no such thing as time, that time is not linear, it's simultaneous. And that in some cases, experiences that are being felt and experienced by people here, again, are basically the veil of time is very, very thin. So as an example, there was an investigation at a location where one of the experiences that was being had was a bathroom door kept opening and closing on its own. Well, what we came to discover was that in the early 1900s, a lady in that location was also having a problem with the door opening and closing. So when she would find the door open, she would close it. And then conversely, in our time frame, when the door was opening and closing, somebody here would do it. And what we discovered is that there was no spirit opening and closing that door. It was both people from our time frame and the other time frame that were opening and closing that door. And that the veil was so thin that it appeared a spirit was doing it and not somebody from a different time frame.
Wow. So do you mean there was kind of like a joining together of the
Yes.
present person and the spirit back in time?
Well, not the spirit, another living person from the 1900s.
From that time. And so,
Yes.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
Yes, and we had conversation with, now this is with a spirit, in a bar setting in Hoquiam, Washington, where the spirit was telling us that because it was able to do physical things in the environment, it was able to manually open up a towel dispenser. He was explaining to us that not only can he open this towel dispenser in our time frame, that they can do things in other time frames like the 1950s, 1940s from where they are at, which is outside of time. And the way we get this information is a combination of mediums, but also with EVPs. So when we are, especially when we're in the process of communicating with an actual person in spirit, we will get confirmation from that spirit of the mediumship's impression. So the medium will say, okay, they're telling me this, this, and this. Inevitably, we will get the confirmation on the recorder where you'll hear the spirit either confirm, yes, that's correct, or they'll repeat what the medium has said, giving a suggested confirmation, this sort of thing. So it's not just strictly coming through a medium and interpreting what is meant to being said. We are getting confirmation from the spirits as well. And so it's adding a lot of weight to the research.
Wow, that's wonderful. And then, so, I'm going to call it ghost hunting because that's what people call it. What is I'm going to ask you your opinion on what is all this ghost hunting that's really popular right now about, and how does it contradict or how does it work with what you guys are doing?
Okay.
If it does.
Sure. My perception, this is my opinion, my perception.
Right.
Ghost hunting is a bunch of people that are going out there chasing phenomena in the hope they can capture on scientific left brain devices that will eventually lead the scientific community to go, oh, yes, there is life after death, or at least people hanging around that shouldn't be there outside the body. So they're looking for validation of consciousness existing in some type of form. So to me, that's ghost hunting.
Okay.
it's kind of like hunting for Bigfoot. You're trying to find this anomalous creature, and once you've found it, hey, you've got it. For us, we don't consider what we do ghost hunting. We consider it spirit research. In other words, we take for granted that people survive death. We take that for granted. Now, what we are doing is we're trying to understand what consciousness does after death. I mean, are they hanging around? Are they stuck? Or are they in other dimensions? Is it all of this? And this is what we're trying to go out and understand and gain some perspective on. And it's really nice in that we have learned a lot. We have learned quite a bit regarding spirits. And the thing is when you're ghost hunting, you're not really engaging that spirit or any spirits in a location to learn from them and to gain wider perspective. You're still on this hunt to try to even ascertain whether or not they are real.
Right. And from something you were saying earlier, I kind of wonder that you said that sometimes the hauntings or whatever, that also has to do with the person who's involved in it. And I'm wondering how those two connect. Do you know, like if you would be doing a ghost hunt?
Yes. Well, what we have to accept is that reality is a result of mind. And so if you're going into a location and you are looking for an experience or hoping for an experience or want an experience, you are broadcasting that mentally in a way. And guess what? There are spirits that are willing to come play your game. So even though you might live in a house that somebody died in, just because there might be phenomena going on in that house does not necessarily mean that it is a result of the person who died in that house. It's quite likely that the person who died in that location went to the light, went on to the other side, and they're out there who knows where. And the phenomena that you're experiencing is not connected to that person at all and is not even that person. But because you're in a house that somebody died, and you're thinking to yourself, somebody passed away in this house, I wonder if I could have a ghostly experience. Bingo! You could have a ghostly experience, but it's not necessarily the person who really passed away there.
Gotcha. And then I would think also sometimes, too, in some situations, the spirits, when you're in a place where there's a ghost hunt going on, the spirits come back maybe to kind of help you or kind of open the door for you into this.
Yes. Now, what we've learned is that spirits will actually come check you out before you even arrive at the location to find out just what your intentions are. Because if they don't feel that your intentions are worthwhile or whatever the case may be for them personally, they're not going to interact with you. So it really, you got to remember, this is the one thing about ghost hunting that I'm not sure people really think about is you're dealing with people. You're not dealing with an ignorant animal that's running on instinct. You're dealing with people, and you're dealing with people that are outside time and space. And being outside time and space, I guarantee you they have the ability to check you out no matter where you are in the world before you step foot in their location where they're hanging out. And they will decide whether or not they want to interact with you and what that interaction will be.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I mean, as they say in mediumship, you're dealing with an intelligence. It's not,
That's right.
And I think so many people don't quite understand that,
Oh, yeah. You're dealing with people. You're dealing with people who, they have a psychology. They have a belief system. They have a way of looking at the universe now, which was probably a little bit different than what they had when they were in a body. But they're definitely not running on instinct.
Gotcha. And so let's just throw it out there for us. Can you give us an example of what Spirit has told you about what it's like to live on the other side?
Well, definitely. Again, it all comes down to this mind. And really what we're dealing with here is our universe, whether we're inside a body or outside a body, is all about the nature of probabilities. And so probabilities are basically what is probable based on your thought process. And again, that doesn't matter whether you're inside or outside of a body. So the reality that a spirit is living in is totally associated with and reflective of their mind. So, and being outside time and space, that makes it a little bit more harder to conceptualize. But essentially, the environment that somebody is living in is a direct result of their frequency and their vibration, which is also a direct result of their thoughts, beliefs, and emotions.
So does that mean it's different for everyone?
It can be different, but we typically move around in pockets. We move around in groups. And so there are going to be certain frequencies and vibrations that correspond together and share various aspects of reality, shall we say, versus others. So you're going to have some spirits that are going to be based on their frequency and vibrational range experiencing one type of reality versus somebody else who's at another. The easiest way to conceptualize this is to think of a beam of white light going through, being distributed and broken up through a prism, and you've got the different colors. Those different colors would represent the different vibrational frequencies, and that's going to be dependent upon, what are your thoughts, your beliefs, and emotions, and how do they represent you, and where do they place you within that rainbow spectrum.
Gotcha. But was there anything when you did your interviews and when you're doing your research now that is kind of similar throughout that you get?
Well, yes, they're very adamant in saying that time is not linear, whether you're inside or outside the body, and that we affect both the past and the future from the now moment. And we actually have examples in our everyday life that can demonstrate this.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha. But I want you to hold that thought.
Yeah, I think we're coming up on commercial.
Yeah, we are. You've got this down. Stay tuned. You're listening to Live with Lisa Phoenix and my special guest, medium and author, Jeff Clark, right now.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Come heal yourself. What is healing? Healing is nothing but connecting with your all-knowing higher self that already has solutions to all your problems and is always there to guide you. Through this show, we help you to connect with that you are and tap into that innate potential you have to transform your life and fly high. Please join me, your host Monica Goyal, every Sunday, 7 p.m. Pacific. Namaste.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment, a philanthropic organization. Their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Have you bought into the idea that you have to work hard for your money, that business is hard? I will share some dynamic access consciousness tools to get you out of your own way so you can create a business that actually succeeds. Join me, Simone Millisers, on The Joy of Business at 4 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio.
Welcome back, everybody. You're live with Lisa Phoenix and my special guest, Jeffrey Marks, medium and author. Jeffrey, you were talking about how our present affects both the past and the future. Yes. And I get in my own head how it affects the future, but I don't understand how it affects the past.
Okay. It affects the past through the energetic components which help probabilities to manifest. That's a big, long line of mumbo. But essentially, here's an example that everybody can relate to. Mm-hmm. Divine parking. How many people 5 minutes from the parking lot are going, okay, give me that spot right at the front, give me that spot right at the front, and that spot materializes. But in order for that to really happen, you got to consider the orchestration involved, which would also include the person who currently occupies the spot, how they're going to get through the store and get to the line to get out there to the car to leave that space open for you, as well as any of the stoplights that you had on your way to the location, any pedestrians that might have gotten in your way. So there's this huge orchestration that actually requires the intention to go backward into the past in order to even tell you possibly what time you had to leave the front door in order to sit at these stoplights, to get past the pedestrians, in order to make that intention 5 minutes from the parking lot, in order to get the person out of the store, into the car, out of that lot with space so you can get into it.
Gotcha. And it's funny you say that because I actually live on a street, where I do park in the street, and I am always, it's like, okay, give me that parking space because there's only a certain number on the street.
That's right.
And, so from that perspective, so we're doing that kind of on a psychic level. Is that what you're saying?
I would say probably more on a subconscious level.
Okay.
But the intention is powerful enough that for whatever reason it gets broadcast. And this is where the co-creative aspect comes into all this, because it has to go with everything in the process there. I mean, that person that currently occupies the parking space to anything back in the past, it all gets weaved together. So all of us are working in this on some sort of higher subconscious or unconscious level that our conscious brain isn't picking up on, but it is definitely there.
Gotcha. So you're basically, when you refer to the co-creative, you're meaning the universe itself, right? Because I mean, a lot of people kind of
well, you and everybody else, because we are, we're like a big school of fish, and you'll see those images of the school of fish, and they'll act like one mind,
right?
Movement. That's really what we're doing.
Okay, and no, I totally get that, but a lot of people say that it's spirit giving them the parking spaces.
Well, that's what they would like, but in that sense,
that's what I just want to clarify.
They're negating their own power,
and that's what I'm sorry. What did you say? They're what? Their own power?
They're negating their own power.
Gotcha.
Because even those in spirit will tell us, look, we can only do so much within your energetic fabric because we are somewhat removed. Yes, we can do this phenomena and pull some strings here and there, but really they are outside of our energetic fabric as we are experiencing it, and so they can only do so much.
Gotcha. Now, is that is that the same for all spirit, like including our guides and all that other stuff?
Well, our guides are closer to us in the energy sense. But however, again, being co-creative, we can all bring our mind together and sort of downplay the veil, so to speak.
Gotcha.
But again, they're primarily outside of time and space and the amount of thinking and mind involved. Spirit is only going to do stuff for you that is within your highest good, that's already within your energy frequency in terms of the nature of your probabilities as you are expressing them.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now, okay, so that I'm so happy. That is so cool to know how that whole parking space thing works.
You are an amazing, powerful mind and consciousness. Everybody is. And this is something that, unfortunately, we have had drummed out of us.
Gotcha.
Because we've been told for centuries that we were born off the mark, imperfect, this, that, or the other, when actually it's quite the opposite.
Exactly. And so with you being said that, off the mark and perfect, I wanted to ask you about, you've done a lot of research as far as the nature of the afterlife and stuff in connection with paranormal research and what we have been told through religion and everything else. Can you shed some light on that?
Yes, essentially the message is that we are all eternal. There is no single correct pathway. That eternal life is basically our natural reality. That the physical existence, our life, is just one aspect of it. It is more or less just a journey. And there is no such thing as a hell. There is no such thing as a big overseer who's going to judge you and crush you. That we were actually all born perfect in the sense that we have the ability to experience all probable states. And if that isn't perfection, I don't know what is.
Exactly. And then, so, when so many people talk about quote unquote a life review after you pass over, I think people confuse that with like judgment. What are your thoughts on all that?
Okay, yeah. What those in spirit tell us is that the life review allows us to feel how we made other people feel. So in that sense, you're sitting there going, "Oh crap," because you're thinking, "Oh geez, if I made somebody feel really, really bad, I get to feel how bad they felt." In that sense, it is like a personal judgment. So that's really where the judgment part comes in. It's a personal judgment. But now conversely, though, and this is what we don't really consider, is in that life review, we will also get to feel how loved we made somebody feel, how joyful we made somebody feel. The awareness, the whole point of the life review essentially demonstrates how we are all connected and that we are all one.
Gotcha.
And so, yeah, when we walk away from a life review and we get to see and feel the bad stuff, shall we say, that gives us an idea of what we need to learn, what we need to continue working on and developing, because life does not end when we leave this body. It continues on.
Gotcha. And then, so how does, religion play a part in all this?
Well, now this is just my opinion, and there might be some people who disagree with me on this, but to me, religion doesn't play a part at all, because ancient religion, to me, the people who wrote the holy text and all this stuff, they weren't looking inward. They weren't truly looking at spirit or spiritual matters. Ancient religion always came from observing the stars, the suns, and the planets. And to me, the Jewish and the Christian faith and the Muslim faith are no different, because they all stem from the same way we all thought and behaved back in the old world. And all old religions were a product of looking at the sky. And we see it within the text, because heaven is always up above. When Jesus ascended, he ascended upward into the sky, into the clouds, and he's going to return on the clouds. So religion to me is more or less a wonderful mythological tale that is based on observation of the sky. It has nothing to do with having looked inward and actually touched and communicated with those in spirit. In fact, ancient religion actually tried making that a sin, punishable by death. If you were talking with spirits, that was sorcery, that was evil, and that was of the devil. So we know that they did not actually look within and communicate with spirit, that they actually shunned that. But yet they have the audacity to claim that they were in communication with the Holy Ghost. That doesn't work. I'm sorry, that just doesn't work.
Well, and all through the Bible, do you know what I mean? There are some of the greatest mediums in there.
Yes.
Communicating. And also, I believe all the Catholic, holy men or whatever, they were amazing mediums, because that's who they're communicating. I think they just didn't realize it,
Well, they certainly would not have gotten away with admitting it.
Right. But all the saints and everything, I mean, that's what they were doing. They were communicating, you know? But now you tapped into this a little. You feel like religion in this day and age is kind of creating a shadow over everything else.
Absolutely, because we see so much divisiveness and segregation, you know, with how same-sex marriage is being treated, how women's rights are really being trampled on when it comes to pro-choice, pro-life, that whole sort of thing. And then, of course, what we're dealing with in the Middle East. And it always boils down to these groups saying, look, this is what our holy book says, or at least this is how we're interpreting what our holy book says, and you need to follow this, or you're going to pay in the afterlife. And there's a part of me that says, you know what? No. Those of us that are mediums, those of us that do spirit research, on some level in this day and age, have a responsibility, I think, now to start pushing back on that and saying, look, no, you're not going to hijack the afterlife for your hatred and divisiveness, because I'm sorry, this is not the way the afterlife really works.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. But I also think there's extreme and there's not so extreme.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
I have seen, you know, some of the religious thing, they actually create a decent community within.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
I wouldn't debate that at all.
Yeah, so if they're not going too far, but
right. But I think on some level, though, those that are going too far, you know, why is it that we can evolve in all other areas of our consciousness, of our reality, except when it comes to spirituality? Why isn't it that we are not standing up and saying, look, my experience, my research does not match what yours has been saying for this amount of time, and I think mine is just as valid as yours. I think there needs to be a greater dialogue and an acceptance to the fact that, you know what, some of us are really out here researching this stuff, and that it's different than what they've been telling us.
Exactly. So here we go. You're listening to Live with Lisa Phoenix and my special guest, Jeffrey Marks, medium and author, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids.
Live with medium Lisa Phoenix, Mediumship Messages and Musings, explores mediumship and all things metaphysical. Lisa Phoenix invites you to reach above and beyond your everyday experiences, to explore new dimensions in the spirit world. She will do live readings to connect callers to their loved ones in spirit, shares engaging stories and teachings from her own personal experience, and will have intriguing conversations with other mediums, spiritual teachers, and healers to help you understand the metaphysical world so you can connect to these forces in your day-to-day life. Join your host on this magical and metaphysical journey into the world of spirit every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time.
Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Looking for inspiration? Want to be inspired?
Not sure where to go?
Find Mark and Kim every Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on Inspired Living.
Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience and all things spiritual.
Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back, everybody. You're live with Lisa Phoenix and my special guest, Jeffrey Marks. So, Jeffrey.
Yes.
No, I mean, we're coming down to the wire here. So I want you, what is it that you want everybody out there to know?
That we are all eternal, that we do not die, and this is the very foundational nature of our existence, that we are beyond time and space, and that what we are going through in this life is really just a single focused journey for experience, learning, and expression, that ultimately we are beyond all of it. Seriously.
And as far as being beyond time and space, can you give us like an example of that?
Well,
because I get the concept, but I think people might be like, okay, but
really, we are minds that are engaging probabilities and are making these probabilities into actual states of experience. And the only way that happens is if our energy and our mind has the ability to bring all things together in order for an experience to be had, which means we have the power to go backwards in time, to orchestrate as well as forward, and as well as being outside of space. Now, you can also look at this from a much more direct perspective of, we know remote viewing is real, that people have been able to remote view others. So there we are, we're outside of space. Heck, parents know with their kids, right? If you have a really good link with your child, you know where your child's located, you know what the child's going through. So that there also shows that we're outside of space. And then outside of time, again, we use the example of divine parking, but you can use it for anything. You can use it, I mean, it's just...
Give us an example of now future. I mean, I know that encompasses all of it, but I was asking about the past. So now give us an example of the future.
An example of the future can simply be that your mind jumps ahead to a time where, for instance, you can be driving along, and this actually happened to me, driving along and you suddenly realize that there's something coming down the wire about a close friend and it is not going to be good. And then you find out, you go through your days, and then you find out 4 days later that 2 days after you had that more or less premonition, your friend passes away.
Okay.
And so what's happened is there's a portion of you that is outside of standard linear time that has the ability to more or less see around corners, shall we say, and be aware of what's coming in terms of probabilities. Now, the future is never written in stone. It is all based on energy and dynamics and frequency. And if they're going along a certain trajectory, you do have the ability to tap into that.
Right. But if it's based on probabilities, then
probabilities are based on the energetic frequencies which create the trajectory. But
exactly.
You can change that. You can change that trajectory.
You can. And so that's why the future wouldn't be set in stone.
Correct.
And then what is it that, again, and I mean, it may be the same message, but it may not. What is it that you've really gotten from spirit and your spirit research that they are communicating, that they want us to know?
Honestly, I would say what they would want us to know is that we are all loved, that it is all based on love, that there is nothing outside of you that's going to judge you and condemn you and make you feel less than. If anything, it's quite the opposite, in that you're going to discover that you have been more than what you've ever thought possible. Now, that allows for extremes. Because if everything is based on probabilities, then that means you have the extremes in terms of wonderful, joyous probabilities all the way to the negative. And so what we are doing in our lives are experiencing those probabilities that we feel are going to best move us in the direction that we are hoping to go. What is it that we're hoping to learn? What is it that we're hoping to express? Some people will go in the direction of doing it joyfully. We will all do this in various combinations of learning and experience through joy and learning and experiencing through pain. However, because we have the ability to experience all these probabilities, that demonstrates unconditional love.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. Now, Jeffrey, tell us, I know you're in the midst because you're really working on your book right now, but tell me what is it that you are setting up? What is it you like to do?
Well, I'm always open for one-on-one sessions and readings. I do private home groups in the Puget Sound area, and I'll be getting back into doing public demonstrations probably in May. I'm just taking some downtime to start this book and to get the process rolling. And so that's really kind of where I'm at right now. But I'm always questioning. I'm always trying to find deeper and deeper answers.
Of course. And your website is spiritualexploration.com, right? And
yes.
And people can contact you there if they want to set up a reading.
Yes, and I'm also available on Facebook at Jeffrey Marks Author.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And that's where pretty much I will post anything and everything that I'm doing. All my events will end up on my Facebook page. Sometimes it takes me a little bit of time to get them up on the website. That's why I'm getting the whole thing revamped so I can have a better working opportunity to get all that stuff on the website.
Awesome. And, Jeffrey, I want to thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for asking me to come on.
Hey, it's great. And I always love hearing about the research that you're doing. And I mean, I and all the listeners want to thank you for just kind of helping us move forward, with spirituality and with understanding of, our nature and who we are. So thank you for that. You're
welcome. And we are all evolving, whether we're inside the body or outside the body, we are still evolving.
Yes. And again, I want to tell you, Jeffrey's website is spiritualexploration.com. That's spiritualexploration.com. And I want to once again thank all you listeners out there for hanging out with us today. If you want further information about the Live with Lisa Phoenix radio show, please visit my website at lisaphoenix.net. I would love it if you would go to my website once again and sign up for my Intuitive Insights newsletter, which will also add you to my mailing list. And please like me on Facebook. Live with Lisa Phoenix is on every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 10 a.m. Pacific Time. So please tune back in with us next week. Thank you. Thank you so much again, Jeffrey, for being on.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone.
You too.